My name is Yonatan Bergman. At most places, you can find me at Yon Bergman, Twitter, GitHub, wherever. And I'm a tech lead at the eBay Israeli Innovation Center. We're a small innovation group of about 15 people working out of Rothschild Boulevard, Tel Aviv, and we build all sorts of cool stuff for eBay, whether it's mobile apps, web apps, and other kinds of weird services. You might see us walking around here with a Google Glass. And we love Ruby, and it's our main tool. But today I want to talk to you about something a bit different. Today I want to talk to you about passion projects. Now, you're asking yourself, what the heck is a passion project? Because it isn't a normal word. You might know them as hackathons or side projects, maybe 20% projects. It doesn't matter what you call them. What matters is that I think that they're what differentiates great developers from good developers. People who have the passion and the internal drive to work on stuff and hone themselves and their crafts outside of their normal day jobs and have a great time. Now, this slide isn't aligned, but we'll make do. So what are passion projects? Well, let's start by defining what they're not. Passion projects are not your normal day job. They're not what you're paid to do, and they're not what you do in your normal 9 to 5. You can be passionate about your job, and I hope that most of you here are, but that doesn't mean that you're working on a passion project. Passion projects are projects that you want to be working on. Now, I've been doing them for quite some time now. I think it's ever since I started programming way back. Sometimes I went to do passion projects because I wanted to build something cool, something that didn't exist. Other times it was because I wanted to learn something new or maybe practice something that I haven't been doing for some time. And at the worst of times it was because I couldn't be programming on cool stuff at my normal job, maybe not even programming at all. I since then have categorized passion projects into 3 buckets: create, learn, and develop. These are not black and white definitions, and a project you might work on might be several stuff both at once, but as I see it, a passion project has only one main purpose. The first one is the easiest one to define, and that's creating cool stuff. You might be your team might have grown and you don't remember how each team member drinks his coffee, and you talk about it at lunch and decide, oh, that's cool, I'll build a coffee infographic, or I'll build a tool that lets other people build coffee infographics and put them on the fridge. Or maybe you're getting annoyed because each time you do a git pull and try to run your project, Rails shout at you that you forgot to run bundle install, and it's getting really annoying. Or maybe you just want to fix an issue with the gem that you're using. As developers, we have a unique ability. We can solve our own issues. It's something that not a lot of people can do, and it's really, really rewarding, scratching your own itches and building cool stuff for yourself. Now, I contrast that to learning new stuff. A lot of times you hear about cool ideas. Maybe it's Hacker News, Twitter, maybe it's this conference where you heard about Chef or Ember and maybe you haven't given them a try yet. And you want a sterile environment where you can play around with these things without bringing down the house. And passion projects are a cool way to do that. The last kind is the trickiest one to define. These are projects where you want to improve and hone yourself and your craft in some way. Maybe you haven't been practicing TDD lately, or maybe you want to try pairing with a new guy. These are projects where the process of building is more important than what you actually are building. So why would you want to invest your time in these things? Well, first and foremost, we're calling them passion projects. These are supposed to be projects that you're having a fun time doing, something that gives you the thrill of building something new or thrill of launching something new. Also, working on a passion project, the slides look weird, is a safe environment to work on things where failing on or delaying the project doesn't hurt the business and doesn't impact the business in a harmful way. For example, I remember way back when Yuda made the post about launching Amber, and it was still called Amber. And during those 4 days, we played around with Amber quite a bit. And thankfully, we did it on a self-contained project because it wasn't very fun for us, at least not then. And if we have tried to done that on a production project, who knows, like, the real implications of that on that project. The fact that you have no pressure also leads to innovation and trying new things that you won't do in your normal day job. You also get to work on a lot of greenfield projects, and that's something that I know developers love to do, work on new things. Work on projects where you get to call the shots from day one. You get to choose what to do and what technology to use. And you get to use a lot of cool and exciting technology and exotic technology. For the most time while working, we only get to use so many different types of frameworks or languages. You don't always get to play with the shiniest, newest things. And passion projects are a great place to try and experiment with new things. And you can work on anything you can get your hands onto. But be careful, it might be more dangerous than it looks. While working on these projects, you get to foster your creative side, get to train your inner product manager or inner designer. It's a thing that I believe that programmers have to know how to do, or at least understand how to do. And that's a great practice to stretch out your right brain, so to speak. You also get to work with people from other teams or maybe other companies. Actually working with people and not just talking about code builds a special relationship between you and the other person. And building these one-off projects can also help you get your name out there. I know that personally I have a hard time coming up with ideas for blog posts. I want to have a cool and successful blog, but it's really hard coming up with new content each week or each month. And a lot of time I get these ideas for new blog posts right after I finish a project and I want to share the project that I've built or the technology that I've used. So that's a cool hack that I use, and you can use that too. And even if you don't blog, having these reference projects or sites out there and having these repos up on GitHub might very well help you someday when you're looking for your next adventure. So I've decided that I've convinced you that you want to do these projects, and I want to give you some tips about when and how to do them. So I believe that most of these projects aren't really done in the office. Most of them happen in the early mornings when you're sitting in coffee shop just before going to work, or late at night hacking away. It doesn't really matter where the coding happens. All that matters is that it happens. Now, working during the office hours and getting your company to understand the benefits is not an easy task to do. At the IIC, we've been doing these weekly dedicated time to work on passion projects for almost 3 years now, and it's been a great experience, and I'll talk about it more later. But a lot of knowledge that we learn during these projects find themselves coming into our normal day jobs, whether it was playing around with Node for a long time before we actually started doing actual Node code, or the fact that it helped us choose our client-side MVC framework. We had an extensive test of different frameworks during our passion project time. And you have my full permission to take these slides and this talk and go to talk to your team or your boss and try to show them the advantages and the benefits of actually dedicating time for that. And if you fail and you can't get office hours, use coffee shops. We're all big nerds at the IIC, and the time that we have each week to work on passion projects isn't enough for us. So we started doing code and coffee on-off for about once a month. We meet on Friday mornings at a local work-friendly coffee shop and hack for about 3 or 4 hours. You don't necessarily have to work with the other people that you're there. It just really helps to set the mood and helps you to get things done. And as a special bonus, when you get stuck, you have people you can ask for help. The baristas in the coffee shops can't really help you with CoffeeScript, even though They're supposed to. But the most important tip I can give you about when and where to work on passion project is to schedule them. You have to make time for them. Set a reoccurring event on your calendar, whether it's in the mornings and the evenings, maybe in the weekends, but work on them. I guarantee that you won't regret spending time on projects that you're passionate about. I'd like to go through the process that I personally go through whenever I'm looking at a new project. It isn't very different from the process that you go to when you're launching a real live product. It's just scaled down. It starts with a spark of an idea, something small. Maybe you talked to people during lunch, or maybe you read or heard about something new that you need to check out. You have to write it down. You have to note it down wherever you can come back to it later. Maybe it's a notebook, maybe it's Evernote, whatever you use. These ideas are a precious resource, and having them organized and being able to come back to them is very, very helpful. Also, setting them aside lets you focus on what you're currently working on and not getting backtracked and start thinking about the new ideas while working on old ones. Next step is to talk about it. Maybe it's over beers or over lunch. Talk to your friends about it, share. The ideas will grow and they'll get better. And if you're looking at a learning project, a project where the idea is to learn something new, try to marry some idea, some concept that you have. That way you won't be building the number 64,000 to-do app, because God knows we have enough of those. Also, when doing learning projects, you can copy existing ideas. If the purpose of the project that you're working on is to learn new stuff, you don't have to be original. No one will probably see it because you're trying to learn something new for yourself, so it's okay to steal. Then is the part where a lot of programmers skip when working on passion projects, and that's designing them. I found it very helpful to dedicate some time, not a lot of time, to actually sit down and sketch whatever screens or interactions my project needs to have. And this helps me train my inner product manager or inner designer. And at times when I didn't do it, or when the team didn't do it on projects, we've failed. We had an idea of a site that helps you find apartments in Tel Aviv, because about half the office was looking for new apartments. And we just started coding right away. We had only the tagline of what we wanted it to do. And we started stepping on each other's toes and going off on all different directions, because for each person, that tagline of finding apartments easily meant something completely different. So taking the time, not a lot of it, to scope out the project is very helpful. And then you have to throw half of it away. These are side projects. They're not your main job. You have to find the minimum MVP, and I know I'm being redundant here, but we're not startups, so we can say minimum viable product. It can be very small. And launch the project without lots of the features that you want to do. 2 years ago, we tried to build a mobile application that lets you take pictures of receipts in restaurants and automatically calculates the tip. And after a month of working on it, we found out that it was a bit too much for us to handle. At the time, we didn't know how to do mobile apps, and we didn't know how to do OCR very well. And we just wasted about a month of project time with nothing to show for it in the end. And after you have your idea and you work on it, comes the most important part. And that's not the actual work itself, but it's finishing it. You either launch it or throw it away, but don't keep the project floating. Some of them may become ongoing projects. Maybe you just created a gem and you're now maintaining it. But even so, you have to take that most important step and send it away and launch it and put it up on the web for other people to see. And when you do finish a project, make sure it's special. Make sure it stands out. Apply that nice coat of paint and buy that $10 domain. It's the little things in projects that go a long way. So we've talked about when and how and why. And this is a tech conference, so I'd like to give out some tips on what I do and what we use regularly to build stuff. The first thing is something that not a lot of people use, and that's the Rails application template. And Yuda actually displayed one in his talk. And the idea is that you have a set of specific gems or initialization steps that you need to do in order to start up your application. You can save time, and when you're working on new projects regularly, this can be very helpful. The other thing is scaffolding. Now, scaffolding is something that we never do in Rails for real-life projects. It's something sort of a hack that we have so we can have that 15-minute blog demo tutorial. But I've found it very time-saving whenever I'm working on small projects. You can easily scaffold out your models and controllers and then go back and fix whatever needs fixing. Now, a lot of people won't like my next step, but I think TurboLinks is a great tool to use in a very specific kind of project. It lets you focus on building a stupid application and still have it seem fast, even when it isn't. And my last generic tip is use Heroku. It's ridiculously easy to set up a free server running Rails there. Most of my side projects and my blog are currently hosted there just because it's just the best option there is right now. And on to some services. Subtle Patterns is an awesome site that lets you find repeating backgrounds. It's great if you don't fancy yourself a designer. And if you don't fancy yourself a designer, you're probably having a hard time matching colors up too. And Adobe has a site to help you with that. And there's also, they have a ton of themes that other people created and ranked for you. So you just pick and choose whatever you need for and feels right for your site. I have several places I hit up whenever I look for icons for projects. The Noun project has an awesome interface and lets you easily find royalty-free symbols, which are like icons that match specific nouns or verbs. Icon Finder has almost any icon you can think of. Their interface is more search-oriented and less fun than the Noun project, but it still does the job. But my absolute favorite right now has to be Font Awesome. It's an icon font, meaning that it's really easy to drop into your project and have all the fonts available up front. And they have a ton of fonts, a ton of icons for whatever you need. And it plays really well with Bootstrap. And I don't think I need to talk too much about Bootstrap. I guess most of you have heard about it and maybe even played with it. I really appreciate Bootstrap for a passion project because it lets me focus on the macro level, what screen and interactions I have, and not have to think about the micro level, like what buttons and if I remember to remove the margins for my paragraph tags. Now the last site is Domainer. It helps, I use it every time I need to find a cool domain. It helps you easily find available domains and it mangles up your name for you so you don't have to do all the little stuff. And it helps you put the finishing touches on your project. So with these tools, I'm sure you'll be able to hack something that looks incredible in no time. Now, I'd like to go back and talk about the process that we have set up and how we do things. So we call a passion project katas. And I know at the beginning of the talk I said you can call them whatever you want and you won't be wrong. So I lied. You can be wrong and we're wrong. But this originates from when we started doing them. We actually started doing code katas weekly, 1 hour each week dedicated to doing code katas and actually learning TDD and practicing TDD in Ruby and Rails. And after about a month or so of doing code katas, we got bored with them and started mutating that 1 hour into building other kinds of stuff. Now, over the time, the time of the week and the amount of time dedicated changed, but the spirit remained the same. And as the team grew, we decided that we want to invest more time in this process and dedicate some more attention to it. So we nominated one team member as a kata master. He's in charge of every Wednesday going and making sure that at 4 o'clock we all drop whatever we're working on and head up to the conference room. And it's sometimes really hard to get programmers to stop working, at a specific time. But when we meet at the conference room, we each demo whatever we worked on last week, talk about new ideas, and split off into teams working on new stuff. And about 2 months ago, we took it to the next level and had a metacata building a site called Catalog. And we use it to internally dump all our ideas and share them. We comment and talk about the ideas here, and people can see the state of each project, which ones have been launched and which ones have been ditched. You can use it for home to add more ideas or comment about new ideas that other people have. This is an actual screenshot, so I hope I don't have anything embarrassing here. Nope. I love our katas. They make our team special and happier, and a lot of cool projects have come out of them. For instance, we built Retroid, which is a cool old school alarm clock that hooks up to your Android phone, and whenever you get an alarm clock ringing, the actual alarm clock rings with it. And that was like a fun technical project, soldering stuff up. Or really, that little gem utility that notifies you when you need to run bundle install after a git pull. GitGib, which is a Chrome extension that adds that little octocat icon with a color that gives GitHub repos a score of liveliness, telling you how recently was it committed and if it's maintained. LunchDB and Lunchtime, sites and services that we built that were supposed to help us decide when and where we want to eat. It doesn't really help. We still argue a lot about like where we want to eat, but one day we'll get it. An infinite Pac-Man game, which runs in Canvas and HTML, and you have power-ups and you're running from dogs, and it was just a really good time working on this. And the coffee infographic builder, which is a site where you can just set up which kinds of soft drinks or how each team member drinks his coffee and then print it out, and we have a poster on our fridge next to the coffee machine, so whenever you make yourself coffee, you go and make someone else as well. And that's just a small taste of the projects that we worked on. So many projects that we worked on were just there to play with new technology. There was one cool kata where each team member took a client-side MVC framework and we all built the same site. And in the end, each one gave a lecture about that new MVC framework so we could decide on which one we want to adopt for our main project. Others didn't make it far enough to be demoable. After a week or two, a few sessions, we decided to stop working on them. Katas are a beautiful thing, and passion projects are a beautiful thing, and we're very lucky that we are able to work on them and share them. And I urge you to try and find time to work on things that you're passionate about. Now, last month at Gogaruko, Sarah May gave a wonderful talk about decision-making, learning, and the Ruby language, and her closing words were so amazing, so I'm just going to steal hers because I couldn't come up with better ones. Given the dramatic effect that novel information has on your brain, the best thing you can do for Ruby is to go learn something else and then come back. We're always hiring at the IIC, so if you're interested in joining our team of passionate developers, send us an email or come see us at the booth outside. Also, check out our blog, notninjas.com. We mostly babble about technical stuff, so I think it should be interesting for you guys. And I want to thank you so much for your time and putting up with the technical difficulties. I've been Yonatan Bergman, or Jon Bergman, and thank you.
So, thank you very much. You can, if you want to ask some questions,